in Clear Lake, which is the southeastern suburb of Houston, is the northern part of the eye wall right now. What that means is we're obviously getting some of the highest winds that we have seen so far. Power is out just about every single place that you look. But I show you behind me here, part of our hotel, part of it is ripped off. Debris is now down on the floor. One thing I'm also noticing is that basically the ceiling of the outside walkway here is starting to breathe and give a little bit. It goes about maybe 3 feet up and 3 feet down, so I think that that's going to give way. And now we've got so much surge here where we are off of Nassau Bay is that we're getting water that's coming in the lowest level of the hotel now. We've still got power, we've got generator power at this hotel, but now starting to take on some water because of that surge. We had some very strong winds that have come in easterly across Galveston Bay. What that done is pushed all the water into the western side of the bay. And so we're going to get tremendous amounts of flooding and surge problems western side of the bay. We've got some heavily populated areas there. So we're talking locations like Texas City where we've got huge refineries. We've got a flood wall there. But if that goes over top of that, it's going to be a big concern there. Let's talk about Galveston, because Galveston is really taking the hardest punch from Hurricane Ike. Western portions of Galveston Island, basically we're getting reports now underwater. In Galveston Hospital now, we're getting reports that the first floor of Galveston Hospital is taking on water at this point. That is not a good scenario because we know that we've got that seawall, and that seawall at this point appears to be being overtopped. So we've got water and waves coming over that seawall, and it appears at this point that the Galveston Hospital is taking on water. Obviously, that is not something that we like to hear. But we're taking on water, and I think so many neighborhoods, especially on Galveston Bay, as you work toward the Bolivar Peninsula, that is an area that is really going to be hit very hard. We've already had several reports of some serious flooding that is taking place there. At this point, it's ramping up, and it's ramping up very, very quickly. Once we can get through this first eye wall, we're going to see the eye, we think, come right over top of us. As we do, then we're going to see our conditions calm down, because the center, that eye, is really the epicenter of it, and that's where it's going to be calm, and then we're going to have that next eye wall come through for us. What that means is it won't be over just yet, and then through the early morning hours, that's when it comes through. And again, taking a look at just the 3 dimensions of this system, you get some of these huge thunderstorms that build within a hurricane, and that's where you tend to get some of your strongest winds with that convection. You get some of that on the outer bands as well, and that's where you can really do some damage even on those outer bands. When you get that strong convection, what you end up getting is the possibility of tornadoes, and we've still got tornado watch in effect across Louisiana and across Texas. And for Houston itself, we've got that tornado watch that goes until 10 o'clock in the morning. That may even be extended in the morning. So we're talking 4 different threats from Hurricane Ike. We're talking wind, we're talking surge, we're talking flooding rain, and tornadoes. So this really is a disastrous event that is taking place right now, and we haven't had these kind of conditions since we got here in Houston. I've got my anemometer with me and trying to measure some of the winds. Winds right now at about 52 miles an hour. Strongest measured wind I've had here has been 69, so we're getting closer and closer to the hurricane strength winds. Very, very impressive. No question about that. Let's talk more about the other areas that are being impacted by Ike. And that includes places to the south of Houston and Galveston, including inland areas like Clute. Meteorologist Mike Siedel is there tonight. Mike, the winds to me seem to really be starting to ramp up now. Are you noticing that as well with the winds in your area?
Yes, Mike, they are. We're been measuring the wind gust out here, and we've been seeing more frequent gusts between 50 and 55 miles an hour. They're coming more often, and it does knock you around. We haven't seen a lot of serious structural damage around here, but we've gone around the area, Clute and Lake Jackson. Here's some of the latest video we just got in, and you can see some minor damage, nothing serious at this point. We haven't had the hurricane-force wind gust, and you get up above 60, 70 miles an hour, that's when you really start to get more of the damage aspects. But so far, so good, at least in this portion of Brazoria County. That's not the case over on the Barrier Island, Surfside Beach, where we were this morning, and then we couldn't get there this afternoon. The road was cut off. The town is underwater, was underwater basically completely about 9, 10 o'clock this morning, and now I'm afraid it's getting decimated between the surge and the waves. Remember, the waves are superimposed on top of that surge. So imagine a 10, 12-foot wall of water and putting 15-foot waves on top of that. Those stilts holding up those beachfront homes aren't that tall. In fact, this morning, late morning, we were seeing the water, the crest of the waves, going right up to the bottom of the first floor of some of these homes. And there's going to be a lot of loss of property out there. There's one guy out there tonight. He didn't want to leave, so they let him alone, and we'll see how he makes out. But the water was already a foot from his door where he was riding out the storm, and that was mid-afternoon when the police made their final check on boats. You can see how these winds, when they gust, they really punch you. The sustained wind isn't what gets you. It's when you're here at a 40-mile-an-hour wind, all of a sudden you get a gust 55 to 60, and it kind of knocks you down. We haven't had a tremendous amount of rain. We're certainly not seeing any kind of urban or street flooding. We get some waves of rain. It rains hard for maybe 10 minutes, but we certainly haven't seen the rains that I've seen in Fay and Gustav. Certainly Fay, where it just was raining 2 to 3 inches an hour for hours on end. We are not getting that, at least here in this part of Brazoria County. Now, remember, we're fairly south of Houston, and we're about 40 miles south and southwest of Galveston. We're 8 miles inland, so we're getting a bit of a break from the wind because it's got to come across the land, and that friction does slow it down. So Mike Bettis tonight, so far, so good in Brazoria County. Much better situation than up your way. And I'm just, I'm going to be interested to see how those skyscrapers take this wind, because as you know, as you go up in elevation, the wind increases. We can see a difference.
The wind